Greetings. I am John Altoff, President and Chief Mission Officer of your Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to the 57A Minnesota House Race Candidate Forum. Thank you to candidate Konitz for attending tonight and amidst obviously a busy campaign schedule. Candidate Kosnick was unable to join us tonight due to some scheduling issues. We'd like to also thank the City of Farmington for allowing us to use their facilities and for their willingness to record and broadcast this event. I also want to thank our timekeepers, Laura and Richard. Thank you very much for your work. Because this election does include other cities and townships within Dakota County, we are appreciative of the other community TV stations who may be broadcasting this forum in their service areas. The Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce is a 66-year-old chamber organization that serves 9 cities, including Farmington and 3 townships, including Eureka, while representing 50% of Dakota County residents. The DCR prides itself in driving business and communities forward through their power to connect. We are the voice of business, and we work to develop vibrant communities through programming like this candidate forum. Sponsoring the forum is a public service to provide you the opportunity to hear candidates discuss important issues face-to-face. The views expressed here are those of the candidates and not necessarily those of the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. The DCR Chamber does not endorse candidates. We'll start the candidate forum with opening statement from candidate Konitz. We'll then have, that'll be 3 minutes long, and then we'll have a 3-minute closing statement as well. The candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to the questions, and I know that you will respect that the time limits. Please note that our timekeepers have a yellow 15-second sign that they'll hold up, alerting you that you have 15 seconds to complete your response. There's also a stop sign that they'll hold up, and that tells you should conclude your sentence so that we can move on to the next candidate, which we don't have tonight, but we have to move on to the next question for you. Many of the questions that we have this evening were submitted to the chamber by email. They were reviewed by committee of the DCR Public Affairs committee members and edited for clarity. In addition, this committee developed several questions based on topics of interest that they had identified within the community. Because of time constraints, we're not able to ask all the questions that were submitted. The forum will conclude in about 45 minutes. So let's begin with your opening statement. Candidate Konitz.
Thank you, John, and thank you to Laura and Richard and everyone helping this evening. I appreciate the forum taking the chamber taking the time to offer me this forum. I'm Vita Konitz. I am a wife, a mom, and a grandmother. And I just retired after 44 years teaching high school science, 41 of them at Rosemount High School, a year in Minneapolis, and 2 years in Wisconsin. My husband, Al, and I live in rural Newmarket Township. We're out on 10 acres and love it. We were in Credit River before that. We settled in the Lakeville area because of the strong public schools. We wanted to be in District 194. And also, we really appreciate the community. We like that there's a downtown and a sense of community in Lakeville. I'm running for the Minnesota House to represent Lakeville, Elko Newmarket, Newmarket Township, Eureka, and Credit River. And I'm running because I believe my district deserves better leadership. Leadership that will leverage the power of good government to improve all of our lives. I'm building on decades of experience, of leadership, and organization in the DFL party and in many other organizations. I am an educator, I'm a union member, and I'm an activist for protecting what we love. My endorsements include several labor unions because of my strong support for workers and collective bargaining. I'm also endorsed by several environmental groups because I know that everyone deserves to live in a safe, healthy environment. And by groups such as reproductive freedom and LGBTQ rights groups, because I believe everyone should be treated equally. And by several sitting members of the Minnesota House and Senate who know me, know my great work ethic, and that I will be a wonderful advocate at the Capitol. In this district, we love our rights and freedoms. I will fight for the rights of our children to have quality public education, the right to a livable climate with clean air, clean water, and healthy food, the right to accessible, affordable health care and good-paying union jobs, and a thriving economy. I will protect our right to love who we want to love, to make our own reproductive decisions, and to live in safe, welcoming communities. I'm proud of the work that was accomplished by our DFL trifecta this last session, but there's still much work to do. Please join my campaign at VITA457A.org. The 4 is FOR, VITA457A.org, and help me move Minnesota forward to protect what we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Konitz. Let's move on to our questions then. And the first question is, what particular areas of public policy are you personally passionate about?
Thank you for that question. Well, I'm passionate about many things. As a veteran educator, of course, I care deeply about the education that our students receive in our public schools. I want to make sure that our teachers are supported and that we can keep a good supply of teachers. Right now, we have a shortage of people willing to be paraprofessionals and support staff also. So we need to make sure we're offering competitive salaries. We need to make sure we're offering good pension packages and respecting teachers, giving them the respect they deserve. I'm also interested in helping our families make ends meet with good-paying union jobs. We need to have a strong economy to support our families, to support our business community, to have healthy communities. And of course, a lot of my life's work has revolved in terms of volunteer work about protecting our environment, preserving and protecting our environment. I helped start the Environmental Caucus in 2015, grew it to a statewide organization, and got an award for my work in 2020, the Willard Munger Award. I do also need to work on health care. I'm interested in making sure that all families can get affordable, accessible health care and protecting our rights and freedoms. I do not want my granddaughters to have less rights than I do.
Thank you. And the second question is, many are concerned with gun violence in our communities. What legislation, if any, could you support to meet the need for safe communities? Thank
you. I think we made some good steps in this last session. We have safe storage laws. This is very important. The shooting that recently happened in Georgia did not have a gun safely stored, and a youngster who should not have been able to access arms got access to it. So we need to make sure we have safe storage laws, and we need to educate our public, our families. With so many firearms out in the community, we need to make sure our kids and people that are going through trauma are not getting at those, right? They need to be locked. I also support universal background checks as common sense legislation, and I'm glad we passed that, as well as red flag laws. There are times in people's lives when they shouldn't be around things that can cause them harm or cause other people harm. And I think that our police department needs to have that authority to take action in those cases. I would also like to see laws that restrict the ability for people who are young to access firearms like AK-15s. I think that our young folks who are not yet fully developed amygdalas, they're not making rational decisions, should not be able to have access to these rifles. Thank you.
Thank you. And the third question is, a recent survey indicated almost 1/3 of Minnesotans are not fully confident in our election process and the results. As a member of the legislature, what measures, if any, would you support to reinforce or ensure voter confidence in our elections?
Thank you. Well, I think mostly we need to keep doing what we're doing. Minnesota has a wonderful reputation for many people voting, a very high percentage of people that vote. And we have excellent training for our election judges. which is very important. Those election judges serve an important job. And we need to make sure that they can do it free from any partisan rancor. Also, our system of having paper ballots is very important. There's a paper trail that can be traced. And I think that, along with ballot security, is a very important reason why Minnesota has such safe voting. And also, our ballots and vote totals are reviewed by city, state, county, and state election officers several times before the election is ultimately certified. So I think we have a strong system. I think we perhaps need to make sure everyone understands that our system is safe. So public service messages, things that will help make people feel more confident in the vote, I think are important.
Thank you. And the fourth question. Child care access and affordability is a top issue for both families and their employers. What would you do to address these issues without compromising the early education and safety of young children?
This is a very important issue. And, you know, it came up last night, too, as something that is sometimes with the Lakeville Forum, where businesses can't get the workers they need because the workers can't get daycare, and they can't find affordable daycare. So I think that we need to make sure that we continue to offer programs like Head Start and early child family learning opportunities with scholarships for people to help them. I know many school districts do before and after school daycare. My kids took advantage of that because as a teacher, I had to leave very early in the morning and didn't get home before, you know, school ended. So having those kinds of programs in our schools and summer programs that the kids can take advantage of to increase their learning and also offer enrichment and healthy play opportunities. I think these are all very important, but I think we need to continue to subsidize this for families with scholarships and other things for families in need so that everyone can have safe daycare for their children.
Thank you. And the fifth question is, due to the increases in state government spending in 2023, the budget forecast now shows state spending growth potentially outpacing tax revenue growth. Please answer, if the state were to encounter a budget deficit, how would you balance the state's budget?
This is tricky, isn't it? We had a surplus after the pandemic, right, that was unexpected. And that led to a larger budget than normal. But that surplus, you know, that will be gone in 2 years. So we'll be back to our normal, what I understand is $56 billion budget. But if we have a deficit and we haven't saved for a rainy day, which is something I always advocate for, then we will have to make cuts. And it's going to be a really difficult thing to do. It's going to take some really heartfelt conversations because there are certain services that we can't cut. We need our public service safety people. We can't cut that. We need education, right? We need our public schools to continue. We need to make sure our seniors have the supportive services that they need. So it will take, again, I think a lot of talking, and in the end, I'm not sure if you do across the board with discretionary spending cuts or how exactly you handle that, but it will be a topic where I will be, again, listening, ready to compromise, ready to do some problem solving in a way that will do the least harm. And I would also hope that some of our projects might just be able to be delayed rather than stopped. So we may want to build something for a community, update their water infrastructure. I mean, hopefully we can still do that, but we may need to postpone.
Thank you. And the sixth question is, the Minnesota corporate tax rate of 9.8% has been identified as the second highest in the nation. Do you support or oppose reducing this corporate rate?
When we look at profits from our large corporations, I think we see they're actually doing quite well. And Minnesota, according to a CNBC study, was ranked the 6th top state for business and industry right now, and that was a July study, and based on several different parameters. So I think we do need to be careful that our taxes are not too much of a burden, particularly on our small businesses, on our middle-class families. I think that our corporations, again, seem to be doing well, and I personally don't see a reason to cut those taxes. Now, if somebody presented me with data to show me otherwise, I am a data-driven person. As a science teacher, I will, of course, listen and look at that data and take it under advisement.
Thank you. And the seventh question. Given the U.S. Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade, state legislatures are enacting new laws regarding women's reproductive health issues, including access to care and birth control. What additional measures, if any, do you think the Minnesota legislature should enact regarding women's reproductive health and abortion?
Thank you. This is an important topic for me. Our legislature passed the PRO Act, short for Protect Reproductive Actions, which basically established that every person has a fundamental right to make autonomous decisions about their own reproductive health, including abortion and contraception. I support that. I think we need to trust women. We have far too many examples of women in states where they are not trusted, where women are bleeding out in parking lots, are going into septic shock, and having other issues that threaten their lives and ability to have future children. I also support getting the ERA on the ballot and hopefully making it a constitutional reform in 2026. It's far past time that we did this. Women and all need to be treated equal under the law.
Thank you. And the eighth question is, do you support Minnesota's current environmental review and permitting system? Why or why not? And what changes would you recommend, if any?
Thank you for this. And this is a tricky one because we did reform our permitting process in this last session, and it came about through compromise, right? There were Senate and House versions and much discussion. But in the end, it was made more efficient and streamlined, particularly when dealing with permitting that are going to help us get to 100% clean electricity by 2040. And that is a climate goal we have set that is extremely important to the continued health and welfare of our planet and our citizens. So I'm all for efficiency, but we do have to be very careful that we don't sacrifice our environmental protections for the sake of short-term financial gain. We need to think long-term, sustainable use of our resources and long-term impacts. If you know that, I'm sure people are aware, we have chemicals like PFAS and nitrates and mercury in our environment, in our water, some of it in our food. Many of these things are toxins and carcinogens that the best way to handle this is not to put them in the environment in the first place. It's very hard to clean them up once they're there. PFAS, parts per billion, are causing issues. With nitrates, we're looking at 10 parts per million as disastrous, and smaller amounts may be causing cancer. So I need to wrap up here. There's much more I could say about this. But basically, yes, I agree with reform as long as we are not shortcutting our environmental protections.
Thank you. And the ninth question. If there continues to be large budget surpluses, do you support lowering all tax rates, lowering tax rates for low and middle income taxpayers only, or not lowering tax rates for anyone? And please explain your thoughts.
Thank you. I hope we will again have a surplus. I'm not sure. That would be great. But if we do, I would support a three-prong approach. First of all, we need to save. I've made reference to this before. We need to have a rainy day fund, like any good household has. You have savings for those times when our economy may have a downturn. Secondly, we need to help our cost-burdened families and our small businesses that are still recovering from the pandemic, frankly, paying off loans and trying to get their business back up and running at its potential. And then thirdly, we do need to invest in priorities that will continue to improve the lives, our economy, and the lives of all Minnesotans. For example, the child tax credit. That cut child poverty, it said it will cut child poverty by 1/3. That's a tax credit we need. I also support eliminating the taxes on Social Security for seniors. Seniors have fixed income. It's very important that they can get all of that money. They've already paid taxes. I also support our high quality of life in Minnesota is possible because of our investments in infrastructure, where our public education investments, our health and human services investments, and protecting the environment. So using funds to continue that helps our businesses, that helps our communities, and I think that's very important.
Thank you. And the 10th question. Do you think that we need a state-run public option available to all people that can compete with healthcare policies offered by private insurance companies? And explain your position.
So this is something, I just did a forum on this a couple nights ago. And we talked about how our current healthcare system is really broken. It is not made to provide insurance and to provide health care to everyone. And it doesn't cover everything. Some people are underinsured and have high deductibles and premiums where they can't afford to use their insurance. And medical bankruptcy is the #1 cause of people going bankrupt in our country. Yet 34% of our medical costs do not go to healthcare at all. They're going to pushing paper around, to paying lobbyists, to paying CEOs, to doing denials. We need our healthcare costs to go to deliver quality healthcare that is accessible and affordable for everyone. That should be our goal. And there was a study commissioned to take a look at a universal healthcare plan here in Minnesota. I'm very interested in seeing the results of that study. I know this will not be an easy change to make, but I think in the end, like other industrialized countries, we will realize that we can increase our life expectancy, reduce infant mortality, and improve everyone's health if we make a change.
Thank you. The 11th question. The Minnesota legislature passed a law that you referred to earlier requiring the use of electricity from carbon-free sources by 2040. First, do you feel that's achievable? So it's a yes or no answer to that one. And then, should we move forward even if affordability and or reliability may be compromised?
So yes, I think it is possible. I think it is extremely necessary. And I think if we make the changes that we need to make, it is very doable and will not cause huge increase in costs. Most people will tell you if it can give them a livable climate where we don't have summers where we can't let our kids play outside because the air is toxic, or where people die in heat waves, where we don't have these extreme hurricanes like what's hitting right now in Georgia area, right? Most people will tell you they'll spend a little bit extra on their energy costs. But it shouldn't be great because in the end, look at what's happening in Becker, Minnesota. They just closed a coal plant and they made an economic decision to switch to solar. Solar and wind are now our least expensive energy solutions. And in Minnesota, we have abundant wind and solar opportunities. And so I think mostly what we need is the political will to move this forward. And we can do it. We have the resources. We, of course, have to update our MISO power grid to make our lines more efficient so that we can increase our energy transmission. We need to electrify basically everything as much as possible so that we're taking advantage of that solar and wind power. So there are definitely changes that need to be made, but it'll be a win-win situation. We're going to have healthier air. We're going to have a cleaner environment, and we are going to help sustain the earth in the long run.
Thank you. The 12th question. What should be the legislature's role, if any, in determining the school curriculum and what is taught in classrooms throughout the state?
This is a great question. So every 10 years, we update our curriculum. For example, in science, it was just recently done, right? Social studies, I think, came up next. And it takes, a committee is formed in order to do that. So the Department of Ed forms a committee that is made up of teachers in that field. It's made up of professors and people from the colleges that are experts in the fields. It's made up of parents. It's made up of students. So a wide swath of the public is working on this. And they come up with recommended benchmarks, and then those are shared, and there's feedback from teachers, from the community, and a long process of review. I've been involved in many curricular cycles over my 44 years of teaching, and I've helped write new curriculum for several of them. And I know that teachers are very much involved in this process and have a say, as do the school boards. In the end, however, it is up to the legislature to approve or disapprove of changes. That is their role, and I think it's an important role.
Thank you. Well, that went fast. Now we're up to your closing statement. You'll have 3 minutes for that.
Thank you. It does go fast when you're only one up here speaking, doesn't it? All right. So again, I want to thank you, John, and Laura and Richard, and I think Tim's in the back room here, everyone helping to put this forum on tonight. And to everyone who's watching, I really do appreciate the chance to share my views of how we can continue to move Minnesota forward as a progressive state for our families. I'm Vita Konitz, and I want to work for you in the Minnesota House. I am running for Kate and Andrew, small business owners in Elko New Market who provide food and medicine in our community. I'm running for Tim and Brent, farmers in New Market Township who care for the soil so that it can continue to feed us. I'm running for Aaron and Brittany, teachers in our public schools who make sure that our kids get the very best education we can offer. For Kay and Debbie, who volunteer many hours to protect our pollinators, reduce toxic waste, clean up our streams, and leave our kids and grandkids a safe and healthy environment. For Brad and Luke with the Lakeville and the Scott County Sheriff's Department, and all our public safety workers who keep us safe and deserve our respect and our support. And for Katie, Laura, and Cadence, my daughters and granddaughter, that their ability to make their decisions about their futures is respected and protected. And I'm running for you, the voters of 57A, to protect what you love and continue to move Minnesota forward. My experiences as an educator and proven leader in our community and state have all prepared me for this moment. I will work for you. I will stay connected to you and listen to your hopes and dreams. I will reach across the aisle for common sense solutions so that all of us, when all our neighbors are able to lead healthy, productive lives, when our neighbors are housed and fed and our communities are safe and welcoming, we all benefit. And that's what I want for you and for my children and my community. I'm Vita Konitz, and I humbly ask for your vote on or before November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. The Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce would like to thank everyone for participating in this forum, the City of Farmington for their services and for this wonderful public space. We especially want to thank candidate Konitz for being a part of the democratic process, first by running for office, and two, being willing to serve our community, and three, being willing to speak with us today. The DCR Chamber is a regional chamber with the power to connect. We strive to drive business and communities that we serve forward. If you're interested in finding out more about what we do and how we make a difference, please visit dcrchamber.com. dcrchamber.com will also have this recording posted within a week under candidate forums. A reminder that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Please schedule or encourage your loved ones to schedule their mammogram appointments because early detection saves lives. Last, I want to thank you all for viewing, and remember to vote on or before November 5th, because it's your civic duty.
Yay.